this meeting of the Oskaloosa City Council to order. Today is Monday, September 16th. We start with the invocation by Pastor Jeremy Impey, Bethesda House.
I always look up to you, Tom. Come on, get your purple shirt up here. And they won't look at me.
Father God, we come before you. I ask you that you'd be with us tonight. Guide us and direct us as we govern this city. I pray that your will be done tonight. We thank you in advance for doing it. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you,
Thanks, Jeremy.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Burnett.
Here.
Caligari.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Addison. Here. Walling.
Here.
Yates.
Here.
Okay. Next item up is the opportunity for community comments. This item is reserved to receive comments from the community for concerns whether or not they're included on the current agenda. The community is encouraged to come and speak before the mayor and the city council. Asked to keep statements brief. The time shall be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Any questions are to be asked of the city staff, the council members, or the mayor prior to speaking to the full council, so that way concerns can be properly researched and answered away from the meeting. Comments are to be directed to the mayor and city council only. Is there anyone who would like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Next up is the consent agenda. There's quite a few items on here. These are all routine in nature or require very little discussion on the part of the city council. I did want to draw attention to item H. That is the item for authorizing the sale of ground from the old airport to help finance the new one. Item J is a resolution scheduling a public hearing on vacation and sale of 27,878 square feet of area on Suffolk Road west of Gateway Drive. Item L is scheduling a hearing, resolution having to do with the sale of the north-south and east-west alley adjacent to 322 North J Street. Item M is scheduling another hearing. It's a resolution levying special assessment against private property for weed cutting. There's 6 properties there, one of them listed for $13. Item N is another one, a resolution scheduling a public hearing for levying the special assessment for nuisance abatement at 2005 Carbonado Road. And finally, item P is a resolution setting a date for a public hearing for an ordinance having to do with zoning. That's going to be on October 7th. The previous hearings that I mentioned were all on October 21st. Do we have a motion supporting this consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Just a question, because I had that marked too about the one that was only $13. Is there something unique about that?
The original bill was $263, and they paid $250. So there's still a balance. So we've contacted them, we've rebilled them, and hopefully we get a bill. They still have time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Burnett.
Yes.
Caligari.
Yes.
Dross.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Addison.
Yes.
Okay, consent agenda passes. Gets us into our regular agenda. First up is the item reserved for the quarterly presentation by the chamber. Ann, would you like to come to the podium?
Good evening, everybody. Does everybody have a copy of my third quarter report? I have some extras. So thank you for helping the chamber
the chamber and the staff is doing within the community. And I'm just going to point out a few things that are on the third quarter report. One of them is tourism. Tourism and economic development, I think, are a great partnership in Mahaska County. Oskaloosa, we're trying to find some tourism in the community and what we can do to help that. And we are going to partner with Pella and Atumlin next year for a harvest fall crawl through the 3 communities, and that is some ongoing meetings that we're doing. We've also published with the Mahaska and Marion Partnership the A to Z Foodie Trail second course, and I should have brought some of those with me, but those are at the chamber, and you can pick those up. Those are different restaurants and places to eat throughout Mahaska and Marion County, and that's a great tourism tool that we have. And we are also updating the Mahaska Oskaloosa Community Book, and that should be going to print this Wednesday, and then it should be out by the end of this month. And we kind of restructured that book so it was more than just advertisement in a membership directory. It was pretty inclusive for all of Mahaska County and the different communities in Oskaloosa and what we have going on here as a tourism guide. Economic development. Beth Tanowski from Musco and I went up to the DOT meeting in Okoboji to thank them for putting us in the 5-year plan for the Northwest Bypass. And we've done some community tours. We've had 11 new chamber members this last quarter, which added $3,502 into our income, which was a great provision. Dee and I completed 19 synchronous visits, and those have all been put into the synchronous input, and by fourth quarter we should have all that information to present to City Council and supervisors with the data that we collected. We've done 24 business visits around Mahaska County. We dispersed some money for the Main Street facade grant. We assisted Indian Hills and Regional Development by welcoming 100 visitors with the Bio World Congress tour that took place in Cargill. We completed the Main Street exchange process with Washington, and we are constantly in communication, Emily and Sean are, for the facade grant that's going on downtown. The revolving loan fund has $150,000, and I believe Dee did just loan some money out to a manufacturer here in town for a small loan. On the back side, we have some housing. The housing committee is still meeting. We're establishing a baseline for some existing housing units and looking at that. Workforce in Mahaska County, there were 2 applications that were submitted for a grant and awarded. One of those was Mahaska Health, and they're using that to train some lab technicians. And then the Chamber Workforce Committee got some businesses to partner together along with this grant. They are going to fund a bus that goes to New Sharon, Eddyville, Oskaloosa, down to Indian Hills to take kids down there for some classes and then back. So that was a great grant to receive. We have our updated calendar of events for this last quarter, and the staff at the Chamber partnered with United Way Day of Caring, and we had a great time doing that. Does anybody have any questions about what the Chamber staff is doing?
How's your reorg / consolidation coming?
Oh, depends on who you ask. We had a really good Chamber board meeting today. I think everybody is on board. I think it's just we're going to have to be really proactive on the positive on why we should merge, what this looks like for the organizations, MCARD, MCDG, and the Chamber, and what this looks like for economic development for the county, tourism. Yeah.
What's the timeline on that?
We would like to have it done by January. I have a letter that's going out next week to Chamber members to let them know that a vote is coming up the following week, and we hope to have all the votes in by October 14th.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
And specifically, what's the vote?
I'm sorry?
What specifically, and what is the vote?
The vote is for MCDG. They are going to dissolve, okay. And then the Chamber members have to vote for them to become one of us, and we will become one organization.
So we'll get whatever one board, the other board has to stay, right?
We will be creating a super board, so it'll be members of MCDG, members of the Chamber board coming together as one.
Okay, but M-Card board will be the same.
M-Card and Main Street have to have their own
Yeah.
separate boards,
Thank
but
you.
they are under the chamber.
Yep,
So,
thank you.
yep. Any other questions?
Guess not. Thank you very much, Ann.
Thanks,
Ann. Moving on to item B, this is to consider a resolution levying a special assessment against private property for cutting and removal of weeds by the city of Oskaloosa. This is done in accordance with Title 8, Chapter 8.20 of the city code. There are 6 properties listed in our agenda for $1,500 total. So this is the time for a public hearing on levying that special assessment. There were certified notices sent to each property owner. Notice was published in the Oskaloosa Herald. And then, if approved, the property owner has 30 days from the time of filing with the Mahaska County Treasurer to pay for the weed cutting in the city clerk's office. And after 30 days, it would be assessed to their property taxes at a payment schedule using a 9% interest rate. So I'll open the public hearing at this time. Is there anyone who would care to speak to this? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion of support for this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Yates,
Yes.
Burnett,
Yes.
Calgery,
Yes.
Dross,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Addison,
Yes.
Wallen,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item C, this is to consider a resolution approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the 6th Street curb and gutter replacement project. Staff prepared the plans and specs for the 6th Street curb and gutter replacement project. Scope of work generally includes the reconstruction of the curb and gutter and upgrading the sidewalk ramps for ADA compliance on South 6th Street from 1st Avenue East and all the way over to 2nd Avenue East. The engineering cost estimate for the construction of the project is $75,400, and if awarded, the notice to proceed for construction would be issued on or around October 1st, with 40 working days and an estimated completion date of May 15th of 2020. So I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this project? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion of support for the resolution approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the project?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Burnett,
Yes.
Calgery,
Yes.
Dross,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Addison,
Yes.
Wallen,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item D. This is to consider a resolution awarding or rejecting the contract to Caliber Concrete LLC for the 6th Street curb and gutter replacement project. So the project was advertised, bids were received, and publicly read on September 6th. The staff received only one responsive bid for the project from Caliber Concrete. It was in the amount of $98,040.90, which is $22,640.90 higher than the engineer's estimate, about 30.3%. Staff also received an unresponsive bid after the scheduled bid opening from TK Concrete in the amount of $89,965, which was not publicly read and therefore it's ineligible for award. Since the low bid is significantly higher than the engineer's estimate, staff is recommending to reject all bids and then rebid the project. If council rejects this bid, then the staff would rebid in December of 2019 and still have the same completion date of May of 2020. So if the project would be awarded to Caliber Concrete, the notice to proceed for construction would be issued on or around October 1st of 2019. Total of 40 working days, expected completion date of May 15th of 2020. And staff is also recommending to authorize the city manager an additional $10,000, which is about 10% of the contract amount, as a construction contingency for unforeseen circumstances, and then also to authorize the mayor to execute all the related contract documents that were contingent upon receipt and approval of insurance and bond. So staff is recommending to the council that we adopt the resolution to reject all bids. Do we have a motion for that rejection?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I guess the question I have is, do we just think it's a timing issue that these bids are coming in so high and it will come in within more reasonable cost frame if we do it in December?
Yeah, I think so. And again, the fact that we didn't have multiple companies bidding on it is an indicator of that. This isn't a great time to bid projects at all.
TK just missed the date, is that what the deal was with them?
They were late, as I understand, to the
Okay.
bid
All right.
process. Go ahead, Akilesh, yeah. I wasn't actually at that.
Gotcha.
So we got the second bid at about 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, whereas the opening of the bids was scheduled at 10 o'clock in the
Gotcha. Okay.
And quite honestly, the estimate that we had put together for this as a staff was pretty high to begin with, and so for these bids to come in even higher than that, I think we could wait and rebid.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Roll call on the rejection.
Caligiuri,
Yes.
Dross,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Odison,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Burnett,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item E, this is to consider a resolution approving the schematic design documents for the Early Childhood Education and Recreation Center project. On April 15 of 2019, the City Council approved Resolution 19-04-60, which entered into a professional service agreement with SVPA Architects for the purpose of designing the Early Childhood Education and Recreation Center project. Since the time of the contract approval, the City, Oskaloosa Community School District, the YMCA, and SVPA have participated in numerous meetings refining the project concept. The agenda item tonight includes the results of the team's work since the contract approval, and completion of the recommended schematic design documents are provided here for the project. Vitus Bering, who is already up and moving around, is the president of SVPA. He is going to be providing the council and the public with a review of the schematic design documents. Vitus, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. As mentioned, I'm Vitus Bering. I'm president with SVPA Architects, and I'm pleased to present the schematic design documents that we've developed for the new YMCA and Early Childhood Learning Center. So first slide here that I'm going to go over is the overall context of the site plan.
And Vitus, bear with me, the
That's where I
laptop
gave
is a
up this
little slow right now.
So as many of you may know, the proposed site for this project is just to the east and north of the current Oskaloosa Elementary School, as shown in the diagram here. The building primarily faces to the east, with most of the access coming off of Green Street. There is also a future city street that is proposed along the north side of the project that would then provide connectivity to future roadways in the Lacey Sports Complex area. And then finally, we will have some service drive access around the west side of the property. I'll go over the site plan in a little more detail here on the next slide, but this gives you a context of the location of the project. So we've been working with Bob at Gardner & Associates on developing a site master plan for the project that you see here. And really the strategy for this plan, there's been a lot of discussion about vehicular access, parking, the different types of uses that the facility will contain, and making that parking in a well-organized fashion. So we essentially have three different parking areas. The first that I'll talk about is for the Early Learning Center, which is right there along the south side. We foresee parents that are utilizing this facility using the southmost access point off of Green Street, and really trying to keep that traffic, both drop-off, pickup, or parents that need to park, within that parking area. It's a little bit further distance from the YMCA entrance, and so we think that just by natural distance, people are going to really kind of focus on that area for the use of the Early Learning Center. For the YMCA portion of the project, we would foresee a majority of the traffic coming in through the Center Drive, which is the main on-access approach to the building. And then folks would then have an opportunity to flow into the center of the YMCA parking lot and scan for opportunities for parking in either direction as you move through those rows. And so we would foresee most of the traffic coming in and out of that Center Drive. To the north side of the site, we will be including, as I mentioned before, the extension of a public road that will also provide access to the main curb drop-off line, as well as a potential bus drop that will be located where the arrow is on the map there. For if there's some busing needs that are coming to or from the school district, we want those those folks to come in the main entrance of either the Early Learning Center or the YMCA. Mike is kind of highlighting those two main entrances there. And then finally, our third parking area is really geared more towards service and or staff. It's located at the southwest side of the building. There's another entrance that will bring you in, and I'll go over these in the floor plan, but that area would be provided for potentially bus pickup if there's people leaving the facility, or for delivery of food or other deliveries to the site. So that's really the area for service vehicles and deliveries to be made. And then finally, we're not showing it all being paved day one, but putting down a rock type surface along the backside for additional services for drop off of things like pool chemicals, trash pickup, and those sorts of things. The next slide we have here is an overall floor plan of the building. The building contains approximately 88,250 total square feet. Of that, 58,420 square feet are for YMCA programs, and just under 30,000 square feet is for the Early Learning Center. Also, as part of our master planning, we have identified opportunities for future expansion. For the YMCA, there's an opportunity for expansion of another full-size gymnasium to the north, as well as future expansion of the wellness or community rooms in association with that to the north as well. We did have quite a bit of discussion in the Early Learning Center about planning for future growth, and a lot of that future growth is built into the day one plan. But we do have some opportunities for additional growth off of both of the classroom wings. Again, thinking ahead for future opportunities for growth. And then the last thing I'll highlight here is we've designated some areas for the playgrounds. There's very specific playground requirements for early learning centers. Right now, we've appropriated the necessary square footage, and as we move through the design, the next development of design, we'll start to look at more details on the playground spaces. So with that, we'll move into enlarged plans. Hopefully you're able to see these close enough, but I'll just kind of walk you through the flow of the building. This is a floor plan of the first floor. It's the north half of the YMCA. So where the arrow is showing the primary entrance into the facility. There'll be a check-in and reception area that is supported by administrative functions for membership desks and the YMCA director, options that are all sort of nestled behind that reception desk for administrative support. Then we have a variety of community spaces that are fairly adjacent to and close to that main entry. There's a sort of an informal lounge cafe space that's open. So there'll be some nice views to that as you come in and check in. That's adjacent to what we're calling an intergen room, which could be a teen space or intergenerational program activities. One of the things we're really excited about in that space is that it's directly adjacent to the swimming pool. And so if there are birthday party functions or those sorts of things that for leasing that space out, it's got nice proximity to the pool. And then we're envisioning an overhead door that could open up and make it kind of wide open to that cafe space. So some nice flexibility there. Further to the north, we have two multi-purpose rooms that will be for community use. And those will have an operable wall partition that would allow them to be divided into two spaces or opened up into one large space. One of the other things that I'll point out kind of in this area of the plan, there has been some discussion about some 24-hour function for the building. And so we would envision, there's kind of a challenge if you open a facility like this up 24 hours to make sure guests are in the appropriate areas and not where they shouldn't be, like playing in the swimming pool. So we envision the 24-hour access coming through some type of a secured key fob membership activated door on the north side. That would provide access to the main stair to the second floor, as well as the elevator and the restrooms on the first floor. There's a security gate right where the arrow is that would be deployed in the evening, so that would prevent further access to any of the other facilities like the gym or the pool or anywhere else in the building. And I'll go over, when I get to the upper floor, sort of how that relates to the use of the upper level. So then we have a full-size competition gymnasium. It has two cross courts. And again, we've identified opportunity on the site plan for expansion of another full-size gymnasium if necessary. Then in the center of the plan, we've located the locker rooms, and those are strategically located to allow for members that come in on what we call the dry side, which would be by the gymnasium, to change and go work out. If they're using the aquatic features, we like to progress from the dry side of the locker room to the wet, so it would go from lockers to showers, and then directly out onto the pool deck and vice versa coming back from the pool area. And finally, the other item I'll highlight here on the first floor is we are providing for 2 racquetball courts. So then just shifting down to the south half of the YMCA portion, coming in off of that main entry, we have a child watch space, and so there'll be a check-in area that's sort of across from the main YMCA check-in, so that'll have good visibility for guests coming in and out of the facility if they have small children that want to use the child watch program. And that is strategically located next to some what we call gross motor space, which is for the preschool or early learning center. It's indoor space for recess activities or for lunch service. And so the plan is to, again, have a high-quality acoustical operable wall partition between the child watch space and the gross motor space, so that if there ever needs to be flexibility of opening all 3 of those rooms up for a special event on a weekend, or if there's some unique things going on with the child care center that needs some extra space, it gives that flexibility. We would typically see that door or wall being closed so that the child watch has its own function and the gross motor has its. As I mentioned, one of the functions in the gross motor room will be lunch service. We've had quite a bit of discussion about how food service will be handled, and the primary thought would be to do that through a cafeteria or lunchroom type space as opposed to eating meals in the rooms. But those are options that the operators can continue to discuss. So we do have a kitchen area that's just adjacent to the gross motor room. And again, as I mentioned before, those services would be coming in that sort of I would call the back door by the pool there. One of the other items that we've incorporated in this area is a break room that could be used by staff within the facility, as well as a set of restrooms that's very conveniently located for any large swim meet type of activities. They don't have to travel back all the way through the YMCA to find restroom facilities. The next piece I'll hit on is the swimming pool area, and this is just an enlarged version of the swimming pool plans. Very excited about the aquatic features that are going to be available for the patrons. We have a recreation pool, which is shallower, warmer water for things like swim lessons and various activities. We did incorporate a splash pad into the rec pool area, so that sort of circular kidney-shaped gray space is actually a deck-level splash pad. It will have several spray features to where you don't actually have to get into the water. Water in that pool, as I mentioned, will be a warmer temperature. It will range from about 2.5 feet deep to 4.5 feet deep. So there is some opportunity. You see a couple of swim lane markers if there's folks that want to do some exercise lap type swimming in the warmer water. The depth should allow for that as well, or like a water aerobics class or those sorts of things. Another nice feature that I think about the rec pool is it's going to have good proximity to the main entry, and we're looking at quite a bit of glass along that east wall of the rec pool. So there'll be, again, a good visual to a lot of fun activity when you come in. There'll be some vibrance as you come into the check-in desk to see some of the fun things going on in the rec pool. Then we have a glass divider wall that would separate the rec pool from a lap pool. And one of the reasons for that glass divider wall is the lap pool for competition swimming, that's typically kept at a colder temperature. And so we're kind of fighting 2 different water temperatures, which kind of relates to also trying to maintain the air temperature between the spaces. And that wall also provides opportunity, if there is a swim meet going on, to continue using the rec pool without major distraction acoustically or traffic flow-wise as well. There are 6 lanes in the competition pool, and the depths of that pool range from 4 feet deep to 9 feet deep. And then we are including spectator seating for approximately 250 people. So the next slide here is for the Early Learning Center. It will have its own designated primary entrance. And you'll see how the entrances are kind of highlighted in the architecture when we get to that part of the presentation. There'll be a lobby where everybody that's coming to the facility will need to check in. And really the center is organized into two different areas. There's an area for preschool, which the school district will have 8 designated classrooms. And then we've also provided 3 designated classrooms for the Head Start program. So those will all be preschool-aged kids. They gain access to that space through a secure door right off the lobby. So there's sort of one corridor that gives access to all of those preschool spaces. And then the second corridor gives you access to the spaces for the younger kids. Those would be infants, toddlers, 2 and 3-year-olds. Down in that portion of the facility, we've included 2 rooms for infants, 2 rooms for mobiles, and then a total of 4 rooms for the 2 to 3-year-olds. And then down at the very south end, a nice, slightly larger room that's designated for wraparound care or before and after school care. And then, as I mentioned before, access from those spaces will go out to a protected area for the playgrounds. And again, this part of the building is just under 30,000 square feet total. So jumping up to the second floor, there is some second floor space that's really designated for the YMCA and for their fitness and wellness programs. So what you're seeing, you can kind of see that main staircase I mentioned for 24-hour access. So there'll be those X's in those boxes means that it's open to below, so there'll be some nice visual connectivity between the lower level and upper level. So that stair will come up from the lower level and take you to the cardio space, which is the first thing you'll see when you go up to the fitness areas. And there's some strategy behind that. We've been working with Grow Development on sort of coming into the treadmill areas is the first thing you see as opposed to coming into the heavy weightlifting, which can be a little more intimidating. So we've located a very nice, large, open space on the second floor for all of the cardio equipment. That's really one of the things that drives membership is that cardio and fitness equipment. It'll have a lot of nice natural daylighting and views out to the parking lot. So you'll be able to see activity going on in that space as you approach the building, as well as having good views out. So there's another open to below space, which is kind of centered over that main entry. So again, you'll kind of get a sense of the activities going on upstairs when you're coming in that main entry. Then we have a couple of studio spaces, a medium-sized studio and a large studio, and then we have a designated cycling studio. We've created a nook for an existing, it's called a Queen X piece of equipment. It's a piece of equipment that the Y has that's sort of a specialty training jungle gym, I would call it, with ropes and things that hang on it. And then the last space on that upper floor is really more for the heavy weightlifting. And again, we kind of tucked that a little bit further away from the main points of entry coming up the stairs. There is a secondary stair that takes you back down to the first floor locker rooms. That's got another open space. The back wall of the racquetball courts will be glass, so it'll be kind of a cool stair going down as you see the glass back wall of the racquetball courts. So those are the floor plans. The next part of the presentation is looking at building materials and elevations. First item is kind of talking through some of the design drivers for the project. We wanted to make sure that we were being respectful to the existing Lacey Sports Complex and wanting to not necessarily just match it, but obviously complement it and tie in well with it. We understand that there's been some national park architecture themes that have been prevalent there, and those would be worth consideration. Some of the darker brown, rich tones, the limestone elements were informed by that context. And then there was also some feedback from the committee about prairie style influences that would be appropriate for the building as well. And so the photo we're showing there in the bottom right is the palette of materials, and the basic palette would be a dark brown brick, some limestone veneer to be used sparingly at key areas on the elevations, a ribbed metal panel, and then a painted precast wall panel for the very large gymnasium and natatorium spaces. So these are the sort of the straight-on 2D elevations. First one is looking at the east side of the building, which is the primary facade facing the parking lot and facing the primary point of access to the building. We've created a raised pitched roof element over the 2 primary entrances, one at the 2-story entrance over the Y, and it doesn't show up as well here, but you'll see it in the renderings, another similar element that signifies the entrance of the Early Learning Center. Everything that you're seeing in the dark brownish color would be the brick. That tan color would be the limestone veneer that would be cut and set. And then the gray items are the metal wall panel. Looking at the north elevation, what you're seeing off to the right side is that gymnasium box, and that would be the precast wall panels. We would paint those a nice complementary warm earth tone. And we're looking at some opportunities for some nice daylighting in there with a band of translucent wall panel, which is what you're seeing in white across the top. And then down towards the south elevation, again, you're seeing the other side of that gymnasium, that back service entrance, and some of the sparing use of the limestone at key areas of both the Early Learning Center and, again, at the main building entrances. So that'll walk you through some 3D renderings of the project. This is, again, looking at that main east side. One of the strategies was to provide some sloped metal roof structure, as I mentioned, over the main entrance to give those some significance, but also over the cardio area and the child watch area. It kind of creates a facade that really softens that large, big box that will be the gymnasium and natatorium space. Those are of the same width, and so while they're two different spaces, the locker rooms and the fitness as a two-story element match up with the gymnasium and the natatorium, so that's really one large rectangular volume. We did look at, with that raised roof element, having a clear-story window project over the top. It's between the natatorium and the pools, so that'll give you some nice daylighting in that sort of fitness weightlifting hallway towards the studios. And then let's go to the next one. These are just kind of progressively getting you more of a closer view of that main facade. So this is really the sort of the street level view from Main Street, again with the YMCA parking lot to the right, the ECE parking lot to the left, and that main service drive coming down in between the two. And again, you can really kind of see from this image there's kind of two clear areas indicating where the main entrances to the building are. There'll be opportunities for signage at both of those. Which here again, you're getting a little closer view. This would be really kind of as you approach the Early Learning Center entrance, and again that YMCA entrance beyond. Again, similar language with the roof forms, use of limestone at those entries to really kind of signify the importance of them as well. And then this is really more of the close-up view as you approach the main entrance to the YMCA. We believe we have a nice palette of materials, but we're also trying to keep the project affordable. So we've got limited areas of expansive glass curtain wall. We've got mostly punched windows, but we do want to have a lot of daylighting in the facility. So that main entrance is one area where we have a larger expanse of glass that's really going to give you a view into both the first and second floor space and really highlight some of the fun activities going on in the building. And then the last image we have for presentation tonight is off to the south side. Again, this is showing that service entrance or the employee entrance that's coming in off of the south. You will see again there another raised roof element, so it's consistent with the others, and kind of neat that raised roof element will go down that main corridor that's between the pool and the gross motor room, and give a little more volume to that space and some opportunity for daylighting down that primary circulation corridor that divides the Early Learning Center from the YMCA. So the last thing I wanted to comment on is we've also been in the process of studying mechanical systems for the project. Right now our budget includes a geothermal system that would support all areas of the building. That would include the pool area as well as the building. And so we're in the process of analyzing that. We've also looked at coupling that geothermal well field system with a VRF, which is a variable refrigerant system for the end units. We'll be going through a process with the Mid-American Energy Group to do some energy analysis of the building, and so we'll present some options to the committee as far as the cost of those features, the payback of those features, and really kind of dial in the next step of exactly what we want. But right now we feel like we have the most energy efficient option available included in the budget. I hope hope I didn't talk too much. With that, I'll entertain any questions you may have.
I got one. On sheet number 103. Probably the third page of your PDF.
You'll see.
C-103.
Oh, C, I'm sorry.
That's,
Okay.
yeah, this will work. Top of the seat, is that road, is that within this budget, or is that gonna be a separate budget?
Right now, we.
The public street.
We worked with Bob on cost estimates, and the paving for that street is currently included in the site budget we have now. We will need to verify how the public road will be handled in terms of design and cost, but right now, we do have the cost of the paving within our schematic design budget.
And Mayor, Council, some of the conversations have included, is there an opportunity to cut back on some of the costs by eliminating portions of the paving, and so that you're only paving this section, which serves the recreation facility entrance here. So that's some of the discussions that'll be fleshed out through the design process.
And I can see that, because you have, right now, technically, well, I guess you have two entrances into the Y area. You have the one entrance into the childhood area. But people are gonna go wherever, to get to where they're going. But the idea with the street up above, I could see, just paving all the way up to that north entrance. Just a thought.
Yeah, and that's a good thought, we discussed that. I do see that entrance being used for larger vehicles or buses. If there are buses coming to drop kids off, they'll likely make that big one-way loop around the front entrance of the Y and stop right in between those two for the drop-off.
And the other question I have, let me see, this would be your fifth page of this PDF, where it starts to show the first floor where the gym's at. Right here. Sorry, but what is universal lockers?
Universal lockers would be lockers that are available to either sex, so or any age of family member. So they've got private changing rooms and private shower rooms.
Okay.
But that would be open for anybody that doesn't want to go in the larger public locker room for their given sex.
So a lot of times they're also called family lockers.
Yeah, a lot of times those are
Okay.
family
All right,
restrooms, family showers.
I got it. All right.
It's a lot to chew on. The committee, obviously, that's been working on this is recommending this design. For the members who are not part of that committee, though, this may be the first time you've seen it. So, the thoughts or comments that come to mind.
When's the shovel hit the ground?
Spring of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
There was projection here.
Yeah, well, that can change.
Any other questions? I don't want to rush this if.
We have a date for the shovel to hit the ground, so that means we've got the money to pay for it?
Yep.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful facility. You've done a nice job.
Thank you.
Really, it's beautiful.
Mayor, Council, I would say that from the beginning of this project, obviously when we lost our partner in Mahaska County, there's always been a reworking of the budget, the scope itself, and the city, the public approved the dedication of the local option sales tax, 75% of it towards debt associated with the building. The school district, I believe, has a resolution that commits them to, I believe, 7.65 maximum. And there was always a component that was necessary where we would raise funds. And so that still exists today, and that's what's represented in this plan, is that there will be a need for additional commitments from the YMCA and the business community grants. And that's what the committee is working on. The YMCA is heading that up. And so it's our understanding that those needs will be met and the facility will be able to be built as presented to you.
Good news.
Hurry up, April.
So the construction won't really begin until this extra money is raised, Mike, is that what you're saying?
Well, the plan is to have construction start this spring. So the idea is to have the necessary funds committed and in place.
This spring, Scotty.
Pardon me?
This spring, April 2020.
Yeah, I see that on here.
Well, I'd just like to say, the committee, first of all, has done an amazing job with this project, because when the county got out, it was a big stumbling block. But Vitus' team has also done an excellent job in listening to everything and putting up with all the different ideas and changing. And I really feel his team has worked really hard to build a building that's sustainable. And Michael's already addressed that the private sector is going to have to come to the plate to cover that. But there's a group working very hard on that, and if they do that, we're going to have a neat facility.
And a big piece of that sustainability is having the community fundraising piece, which would help create that endowment for the YMCA. Again, this is a large facility. It's expensive to operate and maintain. And yeah, per the agreement, the city and the school district have agreed to work things out in the event something happens. And yes, we have capital funds that we're putting in for long-term improvements. But that community campaign for long-term endowment, much like what we have with the library, is an essential piece that still needs to be done, and is, again, a commitment the YMCA has made to us numerous times.
I guess just to echo Tom's being part of the committee, I just want to thank the Y and the school district over the last several months for how hard everyone's worked on this and bringing it to the point that it's at, and certainly to Vitus and his team. A lot of people have had to give a little, maybe not take a little, but give a lot in some instances. But I appreciate everyone's efforts on that. It's been a great effort.
As not being part of this committee, I don't know about the rest of you, but I have heard lots of places I go, when is this going to start? And it is going to happen, isn't it? So I'm glad this was in the paper, the school district section, and that we're meeting on it, so now we can go out and tell the public, well, let's move forward, and we have a really good plan in place for what the building's going to look like.
Yeah, I would recommend you carry this thing around with you, because I think there will be a lot of folks out there.
Now that you asked, let me show you.
I just have one other curiosity question, really. It's for the school. If this building was here today, would you be able to fill all these 20 classrooms in here? Is that a realistic question? Or?
Sure, come on up.
I'm just curious. My kids are out of school, so I don't know. Well, one's a teacher.
It actually gives us 2 additional spaces that we don't have now. So
2?
There's 2. If we filled it today, then we would have 2 empty rooms.
Oh, wow.
So we have room for growth.
Oh,
Good.
great.
All right, I'm done.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
That's good.
Okay, thank you very much, Vitus. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Okay. Getting back to the agenda, it says we're going to consider a resolution approving the schematic design documents for the Early Childhood Education and Rec Center project. Do we have a motion for the approval of these documents?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Yeah, fight for who gets to make the motion. Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Drost,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Addison,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Burnett,
Yes.
Algieri.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Moving on, item F. Let's consider an ordinance amending chapter 15.04 having to do with the building code of the Oskaloosa Municipal Code. It's the first reading. City of Oskaloosa Code states that the building permit shall expire and become null and void if work is not commenced within 120 days from the date of issuance, or if the work is suspended or abandoned for 120 days. The 2015 International Residential Building Code, which has been adopted by the City of Oskaloosa, states that a building permit shall expire and become null and void if the work is not commenced within 180 days from the date of issuance, or if the work is suspended or abandoned for 180 days. So city staff is recommending to change the city ordinance to 180 days so it's consistent with the 2015 International Residential Code. Staff also wishes to correct some errors referencing the former versions of the International Fire Code and the International Building Code. The attached ordinance that's in our packet updates and amends sections of the building code accordingly. Staff is recommending the City Council hold a first reading of the attached ordinance, and note that additional ordinances may be brought forward for consideration as staff continues to review the development-related ordinances. So do we have a motion supporting this first reading?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We've got it in our packet. Any discussions, comments, questions? Okay. Roll call, please.
Moore,
Yes.
Addison,
Yes.
Walling,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Burnett,
Yes.
Algieri,
Yes.
Drost,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item G, this is the second reading, ordinance amending chapter 15.12 having to do with the electrical code of the Oski Municipal Code. On January 1 of 2018, the newest edition of the National Electrical Code, called 2017 NEC, went into effect in the state of Iowa. Municipalities must adopt the same edition of the NEC that the state has adopted. Oskaloosa's municipal code is in need of attention as it still references the 2014 NEC and includes other references that have become outdated. So the attached ordinance in our packet here will update and amend Oskaloosa's electrical code, chapter 15.12, by first adopting the 2017 edition of the National Electric Code. Second, it removes references to the city engineer and replaces it with the electrical inspector or development services director as appropriate. And number three, it removes references to Iowa Power and Light Company and replaces it with Mid-American Energy. Staff is recommending that we hold the second reading and approve the ordinance second reading as it's being presented. Do we have a motion supporting the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this? Roll call, please.
Addison,
Yes.
Walling,
No.
Yates,
Yes.
Burnett,
Yes.
Algieri,
Yes.
Drost,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Gets us to the end of our business. Reports from city staff. City manager.
Mayor and council, at the request of the fire chief, he's asked for a little bit of time to talk to you tonight in public, so I'll turn it over to Chief Mark Neff.
Okay.
Mayor, council, thank you. City Manager Schrock. I'll try to keep it brief. I know the mayor's got an egg timer. So we don't want to drag that out.
For you, I got all the time in the world.
No, don't say that.
So in 2008, the position of fire chief came open for the city of Oskaloosa after the retirement of Chief Francis Glandon. Wasn't sure at the time when I submitted my application I really wanted to do it, but I knew that if I didn't, I'd probably regret it. It's something I wanted to try to do. You gave me that opportunity in 2009 to serve as the fire chief for the city of Oskaloosa. That day ranked as one of my proudest, right behind my kids' birth dates. So we've been through a lot together. Reduction of ISO twice. That was I drug some stuff out the other day. That was actually one of my goals to take over as chief. The other was a rental inspection. We got that in. It's not in our department, but I think we helped get that pushed through. That was also twice, I believe, Mike. So construction of the new fire station was huge, a huge project for this community. Without your support, it wouldn't have happened. Two AFG grants, one in 2010, and then most recently this one we just got awarded last week. So you accepted tonight, so we'll get to work on that when we get out of here. You bought us a second brush truck in 2015, new fire engine in 2016, new PPE, personal protective equipment, the past couple years. Since I've been fire chief, you've always given us what we've needed. You've managed somehow to figure out a way to make it work. And for that, on behalf of my staff, I'd like to thank you and the community. Comes a time when everybody's life, we get to thinking about stuff. Changes. I began this process a few years ago. Not really knowing what I wanted to do, but, I'm getting older. I have to face it. A few months ago, an opportunity came across my radar. I looked it over, and I realized that it was much like the position of fire chief. If I didn't take this opportunity and at least move toward it, I'd wonder what if. So I went for it. I applied for the position within the state fire marshal's office. After multiple interviews and a background check, a thorough background check, I might add, I was offered the position and have accepted it with the Division of Training for the State Fire Marshal's Office. Therefore, after nearly 24 years with the Oskaloosa Fire Department, I have submitted my resignation/retirement letter. I think I get like 8 hours and 1 minute of retirement before I bounce into the new job. My final day as fire chief will be October 17th, 2019. Oskaloosa is my home.
I'd like to just tell you no, but you wouldn't listen.
I'm never going to forget how the community has always treated me with the utmost respect. Same with all the council that I've served with. My sincere hope is that I have done the same for you folks.
Oh, you have.
Thank you again for allowing me to serve as the fire chief for the city of Oskaloosa, and again, it's a little bittersweet, but I think it's time.
Very good.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Kind of hard to follow. City clerk, anything? City attorney, anything?
You're right, you can't top that.
Steve?
No, sir, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, Tom?
No, sir, thank you.
Doug?
Just real quick, I had a call from a person in my ward, and they've requested that we look at on Fifth Avenue East, only allowing parking on one side of the street between South Second and South Seventh. Again, I don't have a position on this issue as of yet, but I just haven't had a chance to contact Michael or Keelish on it. But if we could do our typical review on whether or not that makes sense, I would appreciate it. That's all I have.
Scotty?
No, thank you.
Public Safety Committee will be meeting this week, so I get to see Mark in a couple more days.
And that's Wednesday, right, at 5?
Wednesday at 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe?
No, nothing.
No, sir. Okay. Well, Mark, on behalf of this council and also the previous councils, your service to the city of Oskaloosa has been exemplary as well. You know, it's easy to get behind somebody who's a winner. And so the way the professionalism of the department has advanced over the years, all of the support that you've got has been earned. And so it does us great good to see the difference you've made in the community, the culture, the feel of it, and the respect that the citizens have. If you're in the school business and you want to do a new school, you take multiple votes. If you're in the city business and you want to build a new fire station, how'd we get it done with just one vote? That's a testament to you and your staff and the department and what you've been able to do with it going forward. And so it's always been kind of a private hope of mine that people who work for the city of Oskaloosa gain great experiences and then they step up and out into someplace else, carrying the culture of Oskaloosa and the memories of Oskaloosa with them. You're doing that. So we wish you all the best as you go to the State Fire Marshal's office. It's been a pleasure to know you. I imagine we'll cross paths again. But thank you very much for your service. And with that, do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.